Day 4, we're going to look at simple and compound interest. Warm up. You're at Applebee's with your friends and have an exceptional waiter. You decide to tip him 20%. If your bill is $14, what will you leave for a tip? So there's several ways to do tip problems. So I'm going to show you one way to do simple interest, and that is to calculate 20% of 14. One way, and again there's several ways to do it, is you could do 20% as a decimal and multiply by 14. So 20% of 14 is $2.80. Again, not the only way to do it, maybe not even the easiest way, but that's one way to do it. All right, so that's step one. And then to calculate the total amount, you would take your $14 that you owe, and you would add the $2.80 to that. And so total, your bill would be $16.80. Okay, so there's one way to do simple interest. You calculate 20% of the total and then add it to the total. How can you figure out what you owe total in one step versus two? Okay, so so again, what we did is we took our price, plus it says tax, but I should say the tip. All right, so the price plus the tip. One way that you can do this is, again, we took our $14 plus here's the tip amount. We did that 20% times the 14. So if you take a look at that, what do each of these terms have in common? And if you notice, they both have the 14 there. So let's factor that out. Let's factor out the 14, and let's write what's left. So if I factor out the 14, I'm going to divide each of these by 14. 14 divided by 14 is 1, and then this cancels, so we have the 0.20. Okay, so another way to do that is we could have taken our $14 and multiplied that by 1 plus the 0.2. Okay, so again, our one-step calculation, I would just type in 14 times 1.2, and I should get what we already got, the 1680. So let's try that. 14 times 1.2, and yes, that equals 1680. All right, so again, what does this mean? I just want to break it down. The 1 means you're paying the original $14. It's 100% of the 14, and then the plus the 20 means, again, you take the original 14, and to that you add 20% of 14. And so that's why when we're talking about growth or decay, we have that 1 plus or 1 minus. It makes it into a one-step problem versus two. So let's take a look at part 1. Answer the following questions with the one-step method. Write down what you multiplied, not just the final answer. Round your answers to the nearest cent. Answers are given to the nearest dime, it says. I'm not sure why it says that. Okay. Number 1, you go out for a dinner at a fancy restaurant with your family, and the bill is for $68. Your parents want to leave an 18% tip for the waiter. How much do you pay in total? All right, so here, $68, and we're paying the whole 100% of the 68 plus the tip. We're going to change the 18 to a decimal, the 18% to a decimal, 0.18. And then we can just type that in our calculator. So 68 times 1.18. So total, you'd pay $80.24. Okay, pizzas at Blaze are on sale for 30% off. The pizzas usually cost $8.50. How much does it cost now? So this is an example of decay. Because they're on sale, you're paying less. So again, like the exponential growth and decay problems, we start with the $8.50, and instead of 1 plus, it's going to be 1 minus the 0.30. So again, what this essentially means, I'll write it in a different color, is you have that $8.50, but you're paying 70% of it. 70% of $8.50, you're paying less than the original. And let's get the answer, $8.50 times 0.7. You're going to pay $5.95 for your pizza. So again, it's decay. You're paying 70% because it's 1 minus the 30, 100% minus the 30%. Okay, number 3, your current balance for your Visa card, it's $522. Visa charges you a percentage of the balance each year in exchange for allowing you to borrow the money. So they're kind of like a bank where you take money out from them, and then they're going to, charge you interest on what you've taken out. And that's called an annual percentage rate. So Visa will charge you 12% annually to borrow money for them. If you don't make any payments this year, assuming there's no late fees, how much will you owe at the end of 1 year? So here we're going to owe not only the $522, we're going to owe the interest off it. So we're owing more than that. So we're going to owe 100% of the $522 plus the extra 12%. So if we calculate that, the amount that we have to pay back with the interest is $584.64. So again, you're borrowing the money and plus the interest, this is how much you would actually have to pay. If you continue to not make any payments, how much would you owe at the end of 2 years? All right, so for this one, we have our 522, the 1.12, but then it's another year, so they're charging you another 12%. So another way to write that is 522 times 1.12 for 2 years. So let's calculate that. Okay, so at the end of 2 years, you owe $654 and I'll round to about 80 cents. So this is just off the original $522 that you borrowed, and you're owing more than $100 more of that in interest to Visa at the end of 2 years. All right, so that's compound interest. In reality, interest in a credit card isn't only charged once a year. Let's investigate how it's really calculated. Suppose you charge $1,000 on a card that charges 12% APR. Find the account balance after 5 years. Try to do this with a single expression. All right, so it's going to be the same expression, except instead of the 2, we'll do it for 5 years. So it's going to be $1,000 this time. 1.12 for 5 years. All right, so if we type that in, oops. Okay, so that's a lot. The balance, how much you would owe at the end of 5 years is $1,762.34. Okay, if interest were charged at 12% semi-annually instead of once a year, the same charge would charge instead of 12% once, 6% twice. By evaluating a single expression, find the account after 5 years. So this would be 1,000, 1 plus, and we're going to take that 12% and divide it in half. Oh, and we want that for 5 years. All right, so here's what it would look like. 1,000, 1.06. Oh, and they're charging it twice a year. So instead of 5 times every year, it's going to be 10 times. All right, so let's calculate that. Is it going to be a lot more? That's the prediction. So they charge you 6% twice a year. Is that going to be much more than 12% once a year? So I'll put this in. And we get 1,000. I'll use a different color here. 1,790.84. Well, 185. So it is slightly more if they charge you at 6% twice a year versus 5% once a year. All right, so let's complete the following table, and then we'll do the rest of the questions. Okay, so here, annual is once a year, and that's what we've been looking at. This is simple interest, is once a year. So simple interest is once a year, and then interest rate is 12% per year. Expression for the balance after X years. So again, that was 1,000. I should have written a lot smaller than this. I'll see if it's, so this will be 1,000, 1 plus 0.12 for X years, and we calculated that after 5 years was 1,762.34. Okay, and then semi-annual is twice a year. And so that's 6%. Here's the actual equation though. We have $1,000, 1 plus the 12% divided by 2, and then it's going to be 2 times every year. And we did that, and we got that 1790.85, so slightly more. All right, quarterly is 4 times a year, and so it's taking that 12% divided by 4, which is 3% every time. So here's what it looks like. 1,000, 1 plus 0.12 divided by 4, and then it's 4 times per year. Okay, and so you're going to type that in and calculate. 4 times 5 is 20. Okay, so that's even more at 1806.11. All right, so we're going to do this for monthly and weekly as well. So monthly, 12 months in a year. So you have 0.12 divided by 12 is like 1% every time. So this will be 1,000. 1 plus 0.12 divided by 12. And it's 12 times per year, so we'll calculate that. Okay, so that's 1816.70. So it's increasing, but kind of slowly. And then weekly, what if we did weekly? There's 52 weeks in a year. So that'd be whatever 0.12 divided by 52 is. But here's the equation. 1,000, 1 plus 0.12 divided by 52. And then 52 times x, or 52 times 5 for 5 years. Type that in. Okay, and you'd think it would go up a lot, but this one ends up only being 1820.86. All right, so it says try to write an expression using only variables for the account balance A after T years and initial charge P, adding an annual percentage rate R calculated N times the year. So essentially we're just taking this and we're putting it into an equation. So here's what it looks like. Oops. All right, so the amount A equals our starting balance times 1 plus, we did our rate divided by how many times a year it was to the NT, to the power of NT. All right, so here it is, and it says, in reality, credit cards charge interest monthly. Adjust your equation to make it credit card specific. So we're going to take that equation, our starting value, 1 plus our interest rate divided by 12 for 12 times a year, and then 12 times the number of years. So here it is for the monthly. So compound interest, again, is that equation, is when they take it more than once a year, and the compound interest equation looks like this. Your principal, it's 1 plus your rate over your time, number of times per year, and then NT. Okay, simple interest was this. Okay, so there's simple interest, so it should be once a year, and that's what we've been looking at the last 2 days is simple interest. And remember, you want your rate as a decimal. It's a percentage, and you change it to a decimal. I think I write that somewhere, rate as a decimal. Maybe not. Okay, so let's do some examples of compound and simple interest, and then you'll have your assignment. You bought an iPad Air for $4.99 using Capital One card. It gives you 19.8 APR compounded monthly. How much will you owe after 2 years if you don't pay off your debt? Okay, so this one starts at $4.99. Our interest is increasing at 0.198, but we're paying it off monthly. Is it monthly? Yep. And then 12 times 2 for 2 years. All right, let's type that in, $4.99. Parentheses 1 plus, parentheses 0.198 divided by 12, close our parentheses, to the power of 24. All right, so at the end of 2 years, we're going to owe $739.06. Simple interest, we don't have to do all that fancy stuff. This is more like what we did yesterday. In 1995, the cost of patient care in community hospitals has increased 4% per year. Such hospitals average $9.68 per day. Write an equation to model the cost of hospital care since 1995. Okay, so we start at $9.68 per day. It's increasing at 4% per year. All right, so and then X is the number of years. So there's the equation. And then for 2018, how many years has it been since 1995? So I'll do 2018 minus 1995. It's been 23 years. So this will be 968, 1.04, and it's been 23 years. This is a plug and chug equation where you have all the numbers and you can just type it in. 968 parentheses 1.04 to the power of 23. All right, so now per day, according to this model, it would cost you $2,385 per day if it increased 4% per day for 23 years. All right, your assignment's the next 2 pages.